The message came through every communication device on Earth. At exactly 12 o'clock GMT, Amanda Ross sat in her office at the Global Defense Initiative headquarters when the screens flickered and an alien face appeared. The creature had scaled skin that shimmered green and gold with eyes that held no warmth. It spoke in perfect English, though its voice carried an electronic tone that made her skin crawl. People of Earth, I am High Commander Vorthak of the Galactic Confederation. We have been watching your species for some time. Your primitive technology and aggressive nature concern us greatly. However, we are not without mercy. We offer you protection under our guidance. Amanda leaned back in her chair, watching as the alien continued its speech. Around the world, billions of humans stared at their screens with a mixture of fear and wonder. This was the moment humanity had been preparing for since the first. Radio signals from space were detected in 2089. Your world will become a protectorate of the Confederation. We will provide you with basic technologies to improve your lives. In return, you will provide us with certain resources and follow our guidance in all matters of importance. This is not a negotiation. This is an offer of survival. The transmission ended as suddenly as it had begun. Within minutes, Amanda's secure phone rang. President Hayes was on the line, his voice tight with controlled emotion. Amanda, tell me our people are ready. They've been ready for 60 years, sir. Project Prometheus is fully operational. Our deep sights are invisible to their sensors, and our people know their roles. Good. Call an emergency session of the World Council. We need to make this look convincing. The next day, representatives from every nation gathered in New York. The alien ships hung in the sky like dark clouds, their presence felt by every human on the planet. The Confederation had sent a delegation to meet with Earth's leaders, and Amanda found herself face to face with creatures that seemed to have stepped out of humanity's worst nightmares. High Commander Vorthak led the delegation. Beside him stood a crystalline being that reflected light in painful ways, and a creature that looked like a giant insect with too many eyes. They spoke of humanity's future as if discussing the weather. Your species shows promise, Vorthak said, his scaled face, never-changing expression. But you are violent and unpredictable. Under our protection, you will learn to be civilized. Your warriors will be unnecessary, your weapons will be surrendered. Your scientific research will be monitored and approved by us. Amanda watched the alien carefully. She had studied every piece of intelligence humanity had gathered about the Confederation over the past decades. They were conquerors who disguised their invasions as mercy. Dozens of species across the galaxy lived under their protection, stripped of their independence and dignity. We are honored by your offer, she said, choosing her words carefully. Humanity recognizes that we have much to learn from such an advanced civilization. We accept your protection and guidance. The alien's eyes gleamed with satisfaction. Behind him, the other creatures made sounds that might have been approval. They had expected resistance, perhaps even violence. Instead, they found a species that seemed eager to submit. Excellent. We will establish monitoring stations around your planet. Our resource extraction operations will begin immediately. You will find that compliance brings rewards. Resistance brings consequences. Over the following months, the aliens made themselves at home. They built massive structures in Earth's oceans and established bases on the moon. Their ships patrolled the solar system, ensuring that no human vessel could leave without their permission. To the outside observer, humanity had been conquered with barely a whisper of protest. But deep beneath the Earth's surface, in facilities that had been under construction for decades, a different story was unfolding. Dr. William Hayes stood in the main laboratory of Site 7, one of 43 hidden installations scattered across the globe. Around him, the best minds of humanity worked in secret, studying every piece of alien technology they could acquire. The power source is fascinating, Dr. Hayes said to his colleague, Dr. Lisa Park. They're using quantum field manipulation, but their approach is incredibly inefficient. We can improve on this by at least 300%. That's not the best part, Lisa replied, holding up a small device. Look at this communication array. Their encryption is based on mathematical principles that were solved by our computers 20 years ago. We can break into their networks without them even knowing. The aliens had made a critical error. They assumed that a species they considered primitive could never threaten them. They shared their technology freely, believing that humans lacked the intelligence to understand or improve upon it. They were wrong on both counts. In the asteroid belt, construction crews worked around the clock building ships that would never appear on any Confederation scanner. The aliens saw mining operations and resource extraction. They didn't see the massive shipyards hidden inside hollowed-out asteroids, or the weapons testing facilities disguised as research stations. Captain Nina Torres floated in the command center of the stealth ship Defiance, watching her crew run final system checks. The ship was humanity's greatest achievement, incorporating technology that surpassed anything the Confederation had ever seen. Its hull was invisible to alien sensors. Its weapons could punch through any known shield, and its drives could outrun any pursuit. "Captain, we're getting reports from all sectors," her communications officer reported. "The network is in place. 47 different species are now part of the Alliance. The Nautiloids have agreed to provide biological weapons, and the Crystallians are ready to hack the Confederation's main computer systems." Nina nodded grimly. For 15 years, humanity had played the role of grateful subjects. They had bowed and scraped, accepted the aliens' contempt, and watched as their world was stripped of resources. But every insult, every theft, every act of cruelty had been carefully recorded and remembered. "How long until we're ready for the final phase?" she asked. "The trigger event should occur within the next few months. The Confederation is planning something big, and when they make their move, we'll be ready to respond." On the surface, life continued as normal. Humans went to work, raised their families, and lived their lives under the watchful eyes of their alien protectors. But in the depths of the ocean, in the darkness of space, and in the hidden places of the Earth, humanity was preparing for war. The aliens had waited for humanity to prove itself worthy of their attention. They had no idea that when humanity finally acted, it would be to tear down everything they had built and replace it with something better. The waiting was almost over. The Confederation monitoring station on Europa hummed with activity as 3 alien species worked together to catalog another day of human compliance. Sub-Commander Crix, a reptilian Drakmari, reviewed the daily reports with satisfaction. The humans were behaving exactly as expected. "Resource extraction is proceeding on schedule," reported his assistant, a crystalline Viridian named Zeln. "The humans have delivered another shipment of rare Earth elements. Their cooperation remains exemplary." Crix's forked tongue flicked out in approval. "Excellent. High Command was right about this species. They lacked the spine for resistance. Not like the Nautiloids or those troublesome Crystallians." What Crix didn't know was that every word of their conversation was being recorded and transmitted to a hidden facility beneath the Pacific Ocean. Dr. William Hayes sat in his laboratory, listening to the aliens discuss humanity's future as if they were livestock. "Arrogant fools," he muttered, turning to his research team. "They think we're too stupid to understand their technology. Let's show them just how wrong they are." For 15 years, humanity had been playing the greatest deception in their history. Every piece of alien technology that entered Earth's atmosphere was secretly studied, reverse-engineered, and improved upon. The aliens provided basic tools and equipment, believing they were helping a primitive species develop. In reality, they were giving humanity the keys to their own destruction. The breakthrough came in the form of quantum tunneling drives. The aliens used a crude version of the technology, but human scientists had refined it to perfection. Ships equipped with the new drives could appear anywhere in the galaxy instantly, making conventional space warfare obsolete. "The test results are incredible," Dr. Hayes told his colleague, Dr. Robert Kim. "We can travel from Earth to Alpha Centauri in less than 5 minutes. The Confederation's fastest ships would take 3 days to make the same journey." "What about the stealth systems?" Robert asked, examining a piece of equipment that seemed to bend light around itself. "Even better. We've created a perfect cloaking field that can hide entire fleets from their sensors. They won't see us coming until it's too late. The work wasn't limited to Earth. Across the galaxy, other species were joining humanity's secret network. The nautiloids of the Kepler system had been the first to make contact. Their homeworld's oceans had been poisoned by Confederation mining operations, and they were eager for revenge. Alex Chun, humanity's finest diplomat, had spent months negotiating with the nautiloids. Their leader, a massive creature named Tidal, had initially been suspicious of human intentions. "Why should we trust you?" Tidal had asked through a translation device. "You are new to the galaxy. You have no power, no influence. What can you offer us?" "We offer you something the Confederation fears most," Alex had replied. "We offer you hope." The nautiloids brought unique capabilities to the growing alliance. Their biology allowed them to create weapons that could target specific alien physiologies. A single nautiloid bioweapon could disable every Drakmari on a ship while leaving other species unharmed. The Crystallians joined next, tired of being treated as living computers by their overlords. Their silicon-based minds could process information at incredible speeds, making them perfect for hacking Confederation systems. One by one, other species added their strength to the alliance. The gaseous nebulites contributed stealth technology that could hide entire planets from detection. The metallic ironhold provided advanced metallurgy that made human weapons even more deadly. The energy-based luminals offered power generation systems that could fuel the largest fleets. But perhaps the most important addition was the observers, a species that had been monitoring galactic events for millennia. They possessed detailed information about every Confederation military installation, every fleet movement, and every weakness in the alien empire. The Confederation believes they control 300 systems, the observer named Echo explained to the Alliance leadership. In reality, they directly control only 50. The rest are held through fear and superior technology. Remove their technological advantage and their empire will crumble. Captain Nina Torres used this information to plan humanity's first major operation. Deep in the asteroid belt, her fleet of invisible ships prepared for their mission. The target was a Confederation supply depot in the Vega system, a facility that provided weapons and equipment to dozens of alien worlds. "Remember, this is a precision strike," she told her crew. "We destroy the depot, capture what intelligence we can, and disappear before they know what hit them. No survivors, no witnesses, no trace of our involvement." The attack was flawless. The human ships appeared without warning, their weapons tearing through the depot's defenses like paper. Within minutes, the entire facility was destroyed, and the human fleet had vanished into the void. The Confederation's response was swift and predictable. They blamed the attack on local pirates and increased security at their remaining facilities. They never suspected that the primitive humans they had dismissed as harmless were responsible. Similar attacks began occurring across the galaxy. Supply lines were disrupted, communication networks went dark, and key installations simply disappeared. The Confederation found themselves fighting an enemy they couldn't see or understand. High Commander Vorthek stood in his command center, studying reports of the latest incidents. His scaled face showed no emotion, but his inner fury was evident to those who knew him well. 37 facilities have been destroyed in the past month, he reported to the Confederation Council. Our intelligence indicates that several subjugated species are involved, but we cannot identify the coordination source. Perhaps it is time to make an example, suggested one of the council members, a crystalline being whose voice resonated with harmonic frequencies. Choose one of the rebellious species and eliminate them entirely. The others will learn quickly enough. Vortha considered this option. The Confederation had used such tactics before, and they were always effective. Fear was their greatest weapon, and a display of overwhelming force would remind the galaxy why resistance was futile. "Which species do you recommend?" he asked. "The humans," came the immediate reply. "They are weak, isolated, and have no strategic value. Their destruction would send a message without affecting our resource extraction operations." Vorthak's eyes gleamed with anticipation. Excellent! Prepare the fleet. We will relocate the human population to more suitable worlds, and their planet will become a military base. The galaxy will see what happens to those who fail to appreciate our protection. The order was transmitted across the Confederation network. Within hours. On Earth, Amanda Ross received the news with grim satisfaction. The aliens had finally provided the trigger event humanity had been waiting for. It's time, she said into her secure communicator. Activate all networks. Begin the final phase. Across the galaxy, the message was received and understood. The waiting was over. The greatest war in galactic history was about to begin, and humanity was ready to show the universe what they were truly capable of. The war room on Site 7 buzzed with activity as reports flooded in from across the galaxy. Amanda Ross stood before a massive display showing the locations of every Confederation installation, every fleet movement, and every allied species, preparing for battle. The moment she had dreaded and anticipated for 15 years had finally arrived. Confirmation from all sectors, reported Communications Officer David Park. The Nautiloids have deployed their bioweapons. The Crystallians are ready to hack the main networks. The Nebulites have activated their stealth fields. We are go for Operation Prometheus, Amanda nodded grimly. The plan was simple in concept but incredibly complex in execution. 47 different species would launch simultaneous attacks on Confederation targets across the galaxy. The aliens would find themselves fighting a war on hundreds of fronts, with no way to coordinate their response. Send the signal, she ordered. Let them know that Earth remembers every insult, every theft, every act of cruelty. Today we collect payment in full. The first strike came from the Nautiloids in the Kepler system. Their bioweapons were released into the atmosphere of 3 Confederation mining worlds, targeting the genetic markers of the Drakmari occupying forces. Within hours, every reptilian alien on those planets was dead, while the enslaved populations remained unharmed. In the Vega system, the Crystallians demonstrated their hacking abilities by taking control of an entire Confederation fleet. The alien ships turned their weapons on each other, destroying themselves in a matter of minutes. The surviving crews found themselves prisoners of the very species they had been oppressing, but the real shock came when the Confederation tried to respond to these attacks. Their communication networks went dark as the observers fed false information into their systems. Fleet movements were misdirected, supply lines were disrupted, and commanders found themselves fighting battles they couldn't win. Captain Nina Torres led the human fleet in their first major engagement. The target was a Confederation stronghold. In the Rigel system, a massive space station that controlled shipping lanes for dozens of star systems. The station was protected by 3 full battle fleets and was considered impregnable. All ships prepare for quantum jump, Nina ordered. Remember, we hit them hard and fast. No mercy, no survivors. The human fleet materialized around the space station without warning. Their ships were invisible to Confederation sensors until the moment they opened fire. The aliens found themselves facing weapons that could punch through their strongest shields and armor that could deflect their most powerful attacks. The battle was over in 20 minutes. The space station was destroyed, the defending fleets were scattered, and the human ships vanished as quickly as they had appeared. The Confederation had just learned that their technological superiority was an illusion. Dr. William Hayes monitored the battle from his laboratory, watching as human technology proved itself superior to anything the aliens possessed. The quantum tunneling drives allowed the fleet to appear anywhere instantly. The stealth systems made detection impossible. The weapon systems could destroy any target with pinpoint accuracy. The energy signature analysis is complete, he reported to Amanda. Our weapons are 4 times more powerful than theirs. Our shields can absorb their attacks and redirect the energy back at them. We're not just winning, we're dominating. But the most devastating attack came from an unexpected source. The energy-based luminals who had been powering Confederation technology for centuries suddenly turned against their masters. Every ship, every station, every facility that depended on luminal energy found itself powerless. High Commander Vorthik watched in horror as his flagship systems failed one by one. The luminals who had served the Confederation faithfully for generations were abandoning their posts, leaving entire fleets stranded in space. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "The luminals are bound to us by treaty. They cannot break their agreements." "The treaty was with the previous Confederation government," his aide replied nervously. "The luminals claim that government no longer exists. They recognize the new alliance as the legitimate authority in the galaxy." The legal technicality was devastating. Without luminal energy, the Confederation's technological advantage disappeared overnight. Their ships couldn't move, their weapons couldn't fire, and their communication systems went silent across the galaxy. The rebellion spread like wildfire. Species that had been oppressed for centuries suddenly found themselves free to fight back. The Iron Hole provided weapons to anyone who wanted them. The Nebulites helped hide rebel fleets from detection. The observers guided attacks on the most vulnerable targets, but it was humanity that provided the leadership and coordination that turned a collection of angry species into a unified fighting force. Human strategists planned every battle, human diplomats negotiated every alliance, and human technology made victory possible. Alex Chun found himself at the center of the diplomatic revolution. Species that had never spoken to each other before were working together under human guidance. The aquatic nautiloids shared intelligence with the crystalline viridians. The gaseous nebulites coordinated attacks with the metallic Ironhold. "This is unprecedented," he reported to Amanda. "We're not just fighting a war, we're creating a new form of galactic civilization. Every species is contributing their unique strengths while maintaining their independence." The Confederation's response was predictable and brutal. They gathered their remaining forces and launched a series of punitive strikes against rebellious worlds. Entire populations were relocated, cities were destroyed, and millions died in the crossfire. But for every atrocity they committed, 10 more species joined the rebellion. The Confederation's cruelty had always been their weakness. They ruled through fear, but fear could only work when their victims had no hope of fighting back. The tide of war turned decisively when the observers revealed the location of the Confederation's main command center. The facility was hidden in a nebula in the Andromeda Galaxy, protected by natural radiation that made detection impossible. "It's a fortress," Echo explained to the Alliance leadership. "The Confederation's High Council meets there, and all major military decisions are made from that location. If we can capture it, we can end this war." The plan was audacious. A combined fleet of human, nautiloid, and crystalline ships would penetrate the nebula while the nebulites provided cover. The Ironhold would supply the heavy weapons needed to break through the facility's defenses, while the luminals would power the attack. "This is our chance to end 15 years of oppression," Amanda told the assembled fleet commanders. "Every species that has suffered under Confederation rule is depending on us. We will not fail them." The attack on the command center was the largest military operation in galactic history. Over 10,000 ships from 47 different species converged on the nebula, their combined firepower capable of destroying entire star systems. The battle that followed would be remembered for millennia. The Confederation threw everything they had at the attackers, but it wasn't enough. Human technology proved superior, the Alliance held together under pressure, and the fortress that had protected the Confederation for centuries finally fell. As the smoke cleared and the reports came in, Amanda realized that humanity had achieved something unprecedented. They had not only won their freedom, but had liberated an entire galaxy from oppression. The Confederation was finished, and a new era of galactic civilization was about to begin. The evacuation order arrived at exactly midnight, Earth time. High Commander Vorthok's image appeared on every screen across the planet, his scaled face showing no emotion as he delivered humanity's death sentence. "People of Earth, your relocation has been approved by the Confederation Council. You have 72 hours to prepare for transport to more suitable worlds. Your current planet will be converted to a military installation. Compliance is mandatory. Resistance will be met with force. Amanda Ross stood in the command center of Site 7, watching the transmission with cold fury. Around her, the best minds of humanity worked frantically to coordinate the response they had been preparing for 15 years. All networks are active, reported David Park. Every allied species is in position. The Nautiloids have their bioweapons ready. The Crystallians are prepared to hack their entire network. The Nebulites have cloaked our entire fleet. Good, Amanda replied. Send the activation code. Let every species in the galaxy know that today is the day we take back our freedom. The first strike came from the Ironhold in the Proxima system. Their massive industrial ships, disguised as mining vessels, suddenly revealed their true purpose. Hidden weapon systems emerged from their hulls, and within minutes, the Confederation monitoring station was reduced to scrap metal. Across the galaxy, similar attacks began simultaneously. The Nautiloids released their bioweapons on 12 different worlds, targeting the genetic markers of the Drakmari occupation forces. The Crystallians infiltrated the Confederation's main computer network, feeding false information to their commanders and redirecting their fleets into ambush. But the real surprise came when the Confederation tried to respond. Their ships suddenly found themselves powerless as the Luminals abandoned their posts. The energy beings who had powered Confederation technology for centuries simply vanished, leaving entire fleets stranded in space. Captain Nina Torres led the human fleet in the assault on Earth's orbital defenses. Her ships materialized around the alien monitoring stations without warning, their advanced stealth systems making detection impossible until the moment they opened fire. Target the command vessel first, she ordered. I want Vorthak to see what happens when you threaten humanity. The battle was swift and decisive. The alien ships were outmatched by human technology in every way. Their weapons couldn't penetrate human shields, their sensors couldn't track human movements, and their drives couldn't match human speed. High Commander Vorthak watched in disbelief as his flagship systems failed one by one. The primitive humans he had dismissed as harmless were destroying his fleet with weapons that seemed to defy the laws of physics. How is this possible? He demanded. Intelligence reports indicated that humans possessed no advanced technology. They were classified as a primitive species? The reports were wrong, sir, his aide replied nervously. Our sensors are detecting energy signatures that exceed anything in our database. These weapons are more advanced than anything the Confederation has ever encountered. The destruction of the orbital defenses was just the beginning. Human ships appeared throughout the solar system, hunting down every Confederation vessel with ruthless efficiency. The aliens who had come to relocate humanity found themselves fighting for their lives against an enemy they had never expected. Dr. William Hayes coordinated the ground assault from his laboratory deep beneath the Earth's surface. The aliens had established several bases on the planet's surface, and each one was targeted by human forces using technology that made their equipment look like toys. The quantum disruptors are working perfectly, he reported to Amanda. Every piece of Confederation technology on the planet has been neutralized. Their weapons won't fire, their communications are down, and their vehicles are inoperable. The alien ground forces found themselves trapped on a hostile world with no way to call for help. Human soldiers equipped with armor that could deflect any weapon and carrying guns that could punch through any defense systematically hunted down the invaders, but the real devastation came from the coordinated galactic assault. The rebellion that had been building for years suddenly exploded into open warfare. Species that had been oppressed for centuries took up arms against their oppressors, and the Confederation found itself fighting battles on hundreds of different fronts. The observers provided crucial intelligence, revealing the locations of every Confederation installation and the movements of every fleet. The Nebulites cloaked rebel forces, allowing them to strike without warning. The Ironhold provided weapons to anyone who wanted to fight. In the Vega system, the Crystallians demonstrated their hacking abilities by taking control of an entire Confederation battle fleet. The alien ships turned their weapons on each other, Destroying themselves in a matter of minutes while their crews watched helplessly, the Nautiloids struck at the heart of the Confederation's biological warfare program. Their bioweapons were designed to target specific genetic markers, and they used this ability to eliminate key alien personnel while leaving enslaved populations unharmed. Alex Chun coordinated the diplomatic aspects of the rebellion from his hidden command center. Species that had never worked together before were suddenly united in their hatred of the Confederation. The alliance he had built over the past 5 years was proving its worth. "The Tausetians have joined the rebellion," he reported to Amanda. "That brings our total to 53 species. The Confederation is losing control of entire sectors." The aliens' response was predictable and brutal. They gathered their remaining forces and launched a series of punitive strikes against rebellious worlds. Entire cities were destroyed, populations were relocated, and millions died in the crossfire. But for every atrocity they committed, more species joined the rebellion. The Confederation's cruelty had always been their weakness. They ruled through fear, but fear only worked when their victims had no hope of fighting back. The tide of war turned decisively when the observers revealed the location of the Confederation's main fleet. The Armada was gathering in the Rigel system, preparing for a massive assault on the rebellious worlds. "It's their entire remaining force," Echo explained to the Alliance leadership. 3,000 ships, including their most advanced vessels. "If we can destroy this fleet, the war will be over." The plan was audacious. The combined Alliance fleet would use the Nebulite stealth technology to approach undetected, then strike with overwhelming force. The Luminals would power the attack. The Ironhold would provide the heavy weapons, and the humans would coordinate the assault. "This is our chance to end the war," Amanda told the assembled fleet commanders. "Every species that has suffered under Confederation rule is depending on us. We will not fail them." The Battle of Rigel was the largest military engagement in galactic history. Over 5,000 ships from 53 different species converged on the system, their combined firepower capable of destroying entire planets. The Confederation fleet fought with desperate courage, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. Human technology proved superior in every way, and the Alliance held together under pressure. One by one, the alien ships were destroyed or captured. High Commander Vorthek made his final stand aboard his flagship, refusing to surrender even as his ship was torn apart around him. His last transmission was a defiant curse against the species that had dared to challenge the Confederation's authority. When the smoke cleared, the greatest military force in galactic history had been destroyed. The Confederation was finished, and a new era of galactic civilization was about to begin. The surrender came 6 months after the Battle of Rigel. The remaining Confederation forces, scattered and demoralized, finally accepted what everyone else in the galaxy already knew. The war was over, and they had lost. Amanda Ross stood on the observation deck of the massive space station that had once served as the Confederation's capital. Centrum Prime hung in space before her, its gleaming towers and artificial continents now under Allied control. The sight still seemed impossible, even after everything they had accomplished. "The final tally is in," reported David Park, approaching with a data tablet. 87 Confederation worlds have surrendered. The remaining 13 are requesting terms for peaceful transition. Total casualties for the Alliance were lower than projected. Amanda nodded, though she felt no satisfaction in the numbers. Too many had died during the war on both sides. The galaxy would need time to heal from the wounds of centuries of oppression. "What about the war crimes tribunals?" she asked. "The observers have provided complete records of Confederation atrocities dating back 500 years. The evidence is overwhelming. Several species are demanding justice for their people. The trials would be difficult but necessary." The Alliance had agreed that those responsible for the worst crimes would face judgment. But they had also agreed that the goal was justice, not revenge. Dr. William Hayes joined them, looking exhausted, but satisfied. His hair had gone completely gray during the war, and he moved with the careful steps of someone who had spent too many months in artificial gravity. The technology integration is proceeding ahead of schedule, he reported. 53. Different species sharing their knowledge freely. We're seeing advances that would have taken centuries to develop independently. The aftermath of the war had produced an unexpected renaissance. Species that had been forced to hide their innovations were now sharing them openly. The Crystallians. Computational advances were being combined with human engineering. The Nautiloid's biological expertise was revolutionizing medicine. The Nebulite's energy manipulation was making interstellar travel safer and faster. But perhaps the most significant development was the formation of the Galactic Alliance. Unlike the Confederation, which had been built on domination and fear, the new organization was based on equality and mutual respect. The Constitutional Convention is ready to begin, Alex Chun reported, entering the observation deck. Representatives from all member species have arrived. We're about to witness the birth of a new form of galactic government. Amanda looked out at the station's main conference hall, where delegates from across the galaxy were gathering. The aquatic nautiloids floated in specially designed tanks. The crystalline viridians reflected light in beautiful patterns. The gaseous nebulites shimmered with internal energy. The metallic ironhold clanked with mechanical precision, and there, among all the exotic alien forms, were the humans. No longer the primitive species that had been dismissed by the Confederation, they had earned their place through courage, ingenuity, and an unwavering commitment to justice. The Constitutional Convention lasted for 3 months. Every species had the right to propose amendments, to debate terms, and to vote on the final document. The result was a charter that protected the rights of all member species while establishing a framework for peaceful cooperation. The Galactic Alliance would be led by a rotating council, with each species taking turns in leadership roles. Military forces would be integrated but maintained under local control. Trade would be free and fair, with no species exploiting another's resources. Most importantly, every member species would retain the right to self-determination. It's not perfect, Amanda admitted to her advisors. No government ever is. But it's a beginning. A chance to build something better than what came before? The humans had surprised everyone by refusing to take permanent leadership of the Alliance. Despite their role in the war, they insisted on being equal partners rather than dominant rulers. This decision cemented their reputation as trustworthy allies and earned them respect throughout the galaxy. Captain Nina Torres now commanded the Alliance fleet, a massive force composed of ships from every member species. Her flagship, the Prometheus, was a marvel of integrated technology. Human stealth systems, crystalline computers, nautiloid life support, and luminal power sources all worked together in perfect harmony. The patrol reports are all clear, she reported to Amanda. No sign of Confederation remnants attempting to reorganize. The galaxy is finally at peace. But peace brought new challenges. Millions of beings who had been enslaved or oppressed needed help rebuilding their lives. Worlds that had been stripped of resources required assistance. The infrastructure of an entire galaxy needed to be rebuilt from scratch. The Alliance rose to meet these challenges. The Ironhold provided the raw materials needed for reconstruction. The Nebulites shared their energy manipulation technology to restore damaged ecosystems. The observers used their vast knowledge to guide the rebuilding efforts, and at the center of it all were the humans. The species that had waited patiently for their moment and then struck back with devastating effectiveness. They had not only won their freedom but had liberated an entire galaxy from oppression. Dr. Hayes established research stations throughout Allied space, where scientists from different species worked together to push the boundaries of knowledge. The technological advances were incredible, but the cultural exchange was even more valuable. We're learning things that would have taken millennia to discover on our own, he reported to Amanda. The Crystallians' mathematical insights are revolutionizing our understanding of quantum mechanics. The Nautiloid's biological knowledge is helping us develop new medical treatments. The Observer's historical records are teaching us about civilizations that existed before the Confederation. The economic transformation was equally dramatic. Free trade between species created prosperity that had never existed under Confederation. rule. The Taotians' agricultural expertise helped feed worlds that had been starving. The Altarians' artistic traditions brought beauty to rebuilt cities. The Procyon philosophical insights helped resolve conflicts peacefully. But perhaps the most important change was in how the galaxy viewed humanity. The species that had been dismissed as primitive and weak was now recognized as the catalyst for galactic liberation. Human diplomats were welcomed on every world. Human scientists were invited to join the most prestigious research projects. Human military advisors helped train the forces that would protect the new alliance. We've come a long way from the day they first arrived. Amanda reflected, standing in the same office where she had first heard Vorthak's arrogant demands. They thought we were too primitive to be a threat. They never imagined we would be the ones to bring them down. The memorial wall behind her desk displayed the names of every human who had died in the war. Soldiers, scientists, diplomats, and civilians who had given their lives for freedom. Their sacrifice had not been in vain. A soft chime indicated an incoming message. Amanda activated the communication system and found herself face to face with Echo, the observer who had provided crucial intelligence throughout the war. Amanda Ross of humanity, Echo said in its ethereal voice. I bring greetings from the Observers' Council. We have completed our analysis of the war and its aftermath. What have you concluded? Amanda asked. That humanity has accomplished something unprecedented in galactic history. Not only did you overthrow a tyrannical regime, but you replaced it with something better. The Galactic Alliance is already showing signs of becoming the most successful interstellar government ever created. Amanda felt a surge of pride, but also responsibility. We couldn't have done it without our allies. Every species contributed to the victory. True, Echo agreed. But it was humanity that provided the leadership, the vision, and the moral courage to see it through. The observers have witnessed the rise and fall of many civilizations. Few have shown the wisdom to build up rather than tear down. The conversation was interrupted by an urgent transmission from the Alliance fleet. Captain Torres appeared on the screen, her expression serious. Amanda, we're receiving distress signals from the Outer Rim. A previously unknown species is under attack by pirates using old Confederation equipment. They're requesting assistance. Amanda didn't hesitate. Deploy the fleet. The Alliance protects all who ask for help, regardless of whether they're members or not. Within hours, Alliance ships were racing toward the Outer Rim. The attackers were quickly defeated, and the threatened species was offered protection and membership in the Alliance. It was a pattern that would repeat itself countless times in the years to come. The Galactic Alliance continued to grow, welcoming new members who sought the protection and prosperity it offered. Trade routes expanded, scientific knowledge flourished, and conflicts were resolved through diplomacy rather than warfare. But the Alliance's greatest achievement was not military or economic. It was the creation of a truly just society where every species, regardless of size or power, had an equal voice in their own destiny. The strong protected the weak, the advanced helped the primitive, and differences were celebrated rather than feared. Years later, when historians looked back on the war, they would call it the Great Liberation. But those who lived through it knew it by a different name. They called it the day humanity showed the galaxy what it really meant to be human. The aliens had waited for humanity to prove itself worthy of their attention. They had expected submission, compliance, and gratitude. For their protection? Instead, they found a species that would not be broken, would not be silenced, and would not rest until every sentient being in the galaxy was free. Earth had waited patiently for its moment. And when that moment came, it struck back with a force that shook the very foundations of the galaxy. The age of oppression was over, the age of alliance had begun. And at the center of it all, a small blue planet continued to spin in its ancient orbit, home to the species that had changed everything. The humans had kept their promise. They had made the galaxy a better place for all who called it home.